We couldn't hear you, Professor. Yes.
Yes, I just switched off the microphone, so I didn't. Okay. I didn't realize I did it.
Yeah. Now it's very clear now. Okay. So I think maybe shall we start now? Do you think is it okay for us to start now?
I'm ready. However you like. So,
okay. Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon.
You want to start first? Yeah.
Yes.
Of course.
Yeah. Let me doing some kinds of introduction first for you. Okay. Okay. And good afternoon, everyone. And again, thank you for showing interest and being a part of our PSU Open Mobility 2021 program today. And this event is the first event actually to be held in this month, February. And today we will have the opportunity to listen to our invited speaker to share knowledge and experiences entitled Classrooms in the Cloud with ELT Digitalization. As usual, this session would not be possible without the support of our moderator. And so I would like to thank Dr. Badin Welate for accepting the invitation and managing the session today. Dr. Badin is currently an English instructor at Prince of Sumatra University, Patani campus. He has completed his doctoral degree in the field of education from Oklahoma State University. And his recent works are on teacher education, language attitudes and identity, and English language teaching. Now, I would like to welcome Dr. Badin on board. And Dr. Badin, the stage is yours now.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Yusuf, for your nice introduction. And I would like to say Sawadee krap. So this is a greeting words from Thailand. And I also would like to say good afternoon from Thailand. Now is the time is Thailand is about 2 p.m. But I would say good morning probably to Professor Yasemin and also to our audience from some other parts of the world as well. And I think today's topic is very interesting, not only to teachers who are struggling with teaching and classroom management, but also to students who spend most of their time on the screen learning online in this difficult time of the COVID-19 pandemic. For the education sector, the pandemic is a real game changer of teaching and learning. The international virtual seminar today under the PSU Open Mobility series is honored to bring all audience to our today's topic, which will be focusing on classroom in the cloud with ELT digitalization. Our today's keynote speaker has a great passion and specialization on the above topic. At this moment, I am so proud and so pleased to introduce the guest speaker. Professor Dr. Yasemin Bayyurt, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, is a full professor of, sorry, how you pronounce that?
You're all right, Bayyurt.
Bayyurt, okay, Bayyurt. She is a full professor of applied linguistics at Boğaziçi University in Istanbul, in Turkey. And she holds a PhD degree in English linguistics from Lancaster University, the United Kingdom. Her current research on English and English language teaching and learning focuses on ELF, awareness in English language, EMI in higher education, and CLIL in K-12 schools. She also carries out research projects on blended or mobile learning in higher education programs and meta-discourse in academic writing from a interdisciplinary perspective. Her publications include articles in various index referate journals like World Englishes, Language Culture, and Curriculum, edited books and book chapters published by national and international publishers. Recently, she co-edited a book entitled Current Perspective on Pedagogy for English as a Lingua Franca, published by the Guy Greater. She recently edited one of the volume of Bloomsbury World Englishes series entitled Bloomsbury World Englishes Volume 3, Pedagogies with Mario Saraceni as the series editor. My dear fellow audience friends, during the presentation, if you have questions, please be prepared to ask at the end of the session. You might raise your hand and ask the speaker directly, or you may leave your question in the chat box. Without any further ado, please put our hands together to welcome our keynote speaker, Professor Dr. Yasemin Bayyurt, to deliver her speech on Classroom in the Cloud with ELT Digitalization. Please.
Thank you very much, Professor Borden, for your great introduction. And I would like to thank Yusuf for inviting me to take part in this series, online talk series, PSU. And I would also like to thank the grant for supporting such a great project of, I think it is your university's Prince of Songkla University. And I've read about your university recently, about its history and how it has become such a great university throughout the history. And I also looked at other issues. When Yusuf asked me about this talk, I was thinking of talking in relation to English as a lingua franca and EMI. And then when he said, no, if you could talk about digitalization, we would really appreciate it. And I said, then, okay, no problem, because I'm involved in 3 projects. And today I'm going to talk about these projects, and I will relate it to English as a lingua franca at some point as well. And you had a great number of speakers who already talked about that topic. So I think I can skip that and talk about what I have actually done. And I will be very pleased to share with you my experiences. And as I said, I really looked at the context before I start talking, and I thought we are very similar in many respects. And during this context, I came across transforming education in Thailand, and we had similar projects through Turkish Ministry of National Education, and we also talked about digitalization of. We have been talking about digitalization of education since maybe 2011 or so. Much stronger than before, and recently, because of after COVID, it has become much more. It has become a must to think about it in relation to possibilities. So you have a great, actually, press on the topic of digitalization in Thailand, and again, similar to Turkish context, but obviously essentially different because of contextual factors, linguistic factors, and historical factors, and so on. And as I was going through, you are also talking about educational technology, integration of educational technology, and you're also talking about a digital divide, which has become much more open, much more, how can I say, on the surface after the COVID-19 era. And in 2020, during a talk I listened to, they were referring to this digital divide and how it creates social inequalities among students. And we have obviously dealt with it in the Turkish context and in the United States and so on. I mean, when I listened to Lourdes Ortega about talking about this digital divide, digitalization in 2020, I thought we have similar situations, and this is the same in the United States. And when I read about these topics, similar topics in Thailand, I said this is a universal and this is a global problem. But today I will not be talking about digital divide. I will be, on the contrary, I will be talking about how we can integrate digitalization into teaching and how we can use it, not only teaching, but also teacher training. So there will be 2 projects. Both will be involving how we can introduce teachers these digital tools, and the other one is involving how we can use some online distance education programs to train teachers to become alpha-aware, actually. So this is much more closer to alpha-awareness, but the other one is more to the other topic. And as I said, while I was going through literature on ELT and digitalization mobile learning in Thailand, there are a number of publications and which ranges from ELT in general to digitalization, mobile learning, and so on. So I didn't have enough time to read all of them, but you can be sure that I will be reading these in my next time when I meet you. And I think we also deal with similar topics. So these are some of the, and there are a number of publications in relation to how digitalization has become a must, a new normal after the COVID-19 era for a Thailand context in comparison to other parts of the world. There was one article comparing Germany and Thailand in that respect. Okay, so I come to my talk. I will be talking about, as I said today, my experience in three Erasmus projects, which I've been conducting with colleagues from the department and with partners from the European Union and beyond. And we have already completed 2 of these projects, so I can talk about their products more confidently than I did. And I will give some examples from teachers' reflections on what they, how they perceive this kind of interactions. Okay, so the first project is actually the most recent one is digitalization of training contexts for middle schools. We are here focusing on mathematics, sciences, and English language teaching in middle schools. Middle schools meaning secondary education in Turkey. So we have a 4+4+4 obligatory education system, which is actually 4 years of primary, 4 years of secondary, and 4 years of upper secondary. So this is about digitalizing the curriculum. We are in the beginning for this project. I don't have much to say, but I can say that this is the project that we are dealing with the middle schools. So middle school teachers and over here we'll be going into content. And today I'm not going to talk about this either. You can have more information about the project from the system, from the European Union system. This one, Strategies for Teaching in the Digital Era, is the one we are introducing teachers digital tools. And we have prepared, as Boğaziçi team, we have prepared a guidebook for teachers to use technology in their language classrooms. And we are mostly interested in the theoretical basis of digitalization of education. So this one involves, again, teacher training and training to familiarize teachers with digital tools. I am not a directly expert on this topic, but I did contribute throughout the project, and I will be presenting to you today how we developed the guidebook for teachers to use technology. And if we have time in a future context, we can also introduce you the second step. So this is our team, and we are working in this project. We are working with Austria, Atempo, which is again digitalization of education. It's not a university; it is a kind of community services institution, which is digitalizing what we have prepared in the guidebook. We'll be very soon releasing all these, so I can send you links to have a look. And we have Turkish Ministry of National Education municipality from a district near Istanbul, and a special school which is specializing in technology. The name of the school is Technological High School. Okay, so they are focusing on digitalization, definitely, and they are becoming experts, computational experts, and so on in these high schools. So for the students between the ages 15 to 18. So our project is mostly geared towards school teachers, starting from the age of 11 to 18. Okay, in this one. And the last one, which is just finished at the end of December, is English as a Lingua Franca for inclusive multilingual classrooms, in which we used online and distance education methodology to train teachers to become alpha-aware. And we used all possible tools to, in fact, introduce teachers to topics, theoretical topics, practical topics, and we asked them to communicate online and so on. It has become a kind of community of practice, online community of practice. Teachers learned about issues and then transferred these issues into their teaching, and then shared their lesson plans with each other. And then we did ask them to give presentations on the basis of this. And we recently published a handbook of English as a lingua franca, obviously focusing on English as a lingua franca awareness, how it can be integrated into English language teaching. But as I said, over here, the technology is related to the development of a continuous professional development portal and using technological tools to train teachers. So over there, I'm not going to introduce you any digital tools, but I'll show you how distance learning helps teachers to become self-aware and to exchange ideas and to create a community of an online community of practice. As we already said, because of COVID-19, in our new normal, the world will be more connected and we'll be exchanging more information. Now, I was giving a talk to Pakistani teachers some time ago, and now I'm giving a talk to Thai teachers. So and some time ago to Polish teachers. So we'll be connected. I think, although COVID-19 has some disadvantages, it also has other advantages. So it is connecting us in a much faster way. So I'm somehow divided in my feelings towards this COVID-19 pandemic. So at the one hand, it is really difficult health-wise, but on the other hand, we are more connected. This has advantages and disadvantages as well, but the connection part is more important for me. So these are some photos from our project meetings of teachers. And in the Enrich project, there were people from Norway, Oslo Met University, Roma Tre University, Lisbon University from Portugal, Italy, Greece. They were the director of the whole project, and Boğaziçi University. So these are some photos from our project. So this is the web page of the Enrich project as well. I can send you all the links if you are interested to know more about it. Okay. And you can also find information about the project on the online. Okay. So now I just want to start with the methodology guidebook. Since we have, as I said, from digital to less digital. So this was our responsibility in the project. And together with two of my colleagues, one is an expert in technology and the other is an expert in instructional design, instructed second language acquisition, actually. We have developed this guidebook, which will help the teachers to become more digitalized. So obviously, the project started in 2019, just before the pandemic has started. And during the project, we really had difficult times because we didn't know what to do in the beginning, for example, when there was a shutdown. But it did help us, in fact, to realize this project further. Because normally, when we were talking about digitalization of education before the COVID era, we were talking about some hypothetical or some, for teachers, it was more hypothetical. But after the COVID-19 pandemic, as I just showed you some slides from the Thailand context, we also changed all education in the mainstream education system to digital education. All of a sudden, we had this EBA TV, which was the mainstream education, Ministry of National Education developed programs. And in those EBA programs, the Turkish Ministry of Education, in fact, transferred all the content from regular curriculum to the digital curriculum. The teachers were not ready. They were not trained to teach online. The students didn't know what to do. And in some cases, as I just mentioned, there was this, because of this digital divide, some students did not have access to internet. So they had difficulties in accessing information or following their courses. And plus, they all of a sudden were shut down in their home environments. They didn't have enough means of working silently and so on. So it was actually a kind of a examination, we say in Turkish culture, for everyone to see how we can, live through this pandemic and do not lose our contact with education. So in that time, as I said, it has become more important, more essential to train teachers to become more digitalized, actually, to learn about how to use digital content, to keep learners, how can I say, attention constantly during the courses. It was similar for me, for example, as a university lecturer. I also had a difficult time in adapting to the Zoom environment and and attracting students' attention towards the topics that I was teaching. And in most of the cases, after they graduated, when I talked with them, they said they were bored, okay, because of this. This is a different environment. So we need to find ways of keeping them constantly attracted to the topic we are talking about. Some learning theories and strategies for teaching. Okay, so I will not be talking about theory all the time, but I think this is essential to go over some of the issues here together. Okay. According to the strategic goals set by the European Council in Lisbon in 2000, Europe's primary purpose was to achieve the most competitive and knowledge-based economy in the world. In order to achieve this, there should be transformation in economic development, but also at the educational level. Again, in the pictures I showed you in the beginning of my talk that were from Thailand, they are talking in those newspaper or online newspaper articles. They are also talking about economic development through transformation. So this is not, again, just geared towards Europe. So for a society to become advanced, we need to have this growth and well-being in society. And it is only possible through education. So there are 4 pillars of knowledge economy as following: a well-educated, skilled population who can continuously adapt their skills to create, acquire, disseminate, and utilize knowledge; an effective innovation system that connects institutions, rules, and procedures that influences how businesses, research centers, and universities generate and make use of knowledge. This is very important because when you think about a university, it is the place where the knowledge is produced and disseminated. And these people go to industry and work and bring innovations and new ideas into the society. An adequate and dynamic information and communication technologies infrastructure that allows communication, dissemination, and processing of information. A conductive economic and institutional regime that permits efficient use and creation of knowledge through policies and institutions. So this is from Chen and Dalman. And as I said, this is not only geared towards European Union. So one of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals is to ensure inclusive and quality education for all and promote lifelong learning. Again, in the beginning, I also quoted as a part of United Nations page related to Thailand. So that's important for sustainable development goals. Lifelong learning is also the European Commission's top priority policy on education, with the policy of digital learning and ICT in education, noting that digital technologies are an inseparable part of today's learning process. The digital age is expanding into all areas of our lives. It isn't just those who work in IT that will need to be alert of the digital transformation. Actually, we are all in it now. So we cannot really separate ourselves from the fact that this is an IT person. I don't know it. I mean, I do, in fact, deal with all my technological issues myself because you don't have an IT person with you all the time, especially during the shutdown period. And what happens is the digital skills gap is real. So in most of the cases, people do not have the necessary digital skills to cope with this kind of a change, this kind of a development that easily. But there is a possibility of digital education action plan as European Union decreed. And this will help the education institutions and systems to better adapt to life and work in increasingly digital societies. For example, today we have online, for example, doctoral appointments. for elderly people. And in most of the cases, elderly people live on their own in Turkey, for example. They need to have the necessary, at least they need to know how to use the mobile phones, like FaceTime kind of issues, or WhatsApp visual part of WhatsApp device, and so on, to use it. Okay, just a simple thing. And they're always on the Facebook and other social media sites to use the telephone. And in most of the cases, after a while, they also become some kind of, not exactly, but some kind of experts. Just like in one of the articles that I actually went through in the Thai context, there is actually digital divide, not only because of the economical reasons, like people who have less access or more access to technology, but also between the different age groups, like digital natives, digital immigrants, digital foreigners divide. Since, as I said, I'm not a direct, in fact, expert on this topic, I am fascinated with these ideas. And now I can't help myself to see my mother is a digital foreigner, definitely, but she's adapting to technology much faster than my mother-in-law, for example. So, but still they can both use. And they are people, one is in late 70s, the other is in early 90s, I mean. So that means they are foreigners, but not that much anymore. And then digital immigrants like myself and my age group. But we are also, I think, there are also people who are worse than digital foreigners among us. I see that in my, for example, department, in most of the cases, some of the questions my colleagues ask is like unthinkable, even after the COVID era. Digital natives is not, we don't need to really discuss this. They are incredibly skillful, starting from a very early age in life. And I now teach the people who were born after the year 2000, 2001, 2002, and so on. They are incredible about the use of technology. So I cannot compete with them, for example. So I try to understand and accommodate to their pace in most of the cases. And before, let's say, 2010 or so, I used to not let the students to have mobile phones in the classroom, but in my classes right now, I do not mind if they want to use their phones, they do, and they do use it for educational purposes, incredible. And they can immediately correct your mistakes and so on. It is incredible as well. Okay, this project actually that I've been talking about supports a broad framework of activities that will renew a digital and ICT-based training methodology. So we, in fact, developed a methodology to in fact, implement for digitalization, training teachers to become digitalized. This methodology aims to increase teachers' participation in digital teaching strategies, thereby supporting the development of digital education at European, national, and regional levels through the implementation of strategic partnerships for school education. So, in other words, this, in fact, project is gearing towards not only English teachers, because I'm an expert in this area, but to all teachers from different subject areas to become digitalized, because all the tools that are, in fact, used to teach from a distance education point of view can be adapted or can be implemented. The way ICT was first employed in schools and specifically in classrooms was very different than today, as I said before, especially the COVID time and before in the beginning of the 21st century. When small computers were first introduced, the emphasis was still on teacher-centered pedagogy, not on the learner. The reason for this was because who could afford desktop computers were mainly few affluent institutions or households, and what they could do with computers was limited.
I'm sorry, Prof.
In 1990.
I'm sorry, Prof. Did you switch your slide, because the slide is there? Because I'm afraid that you forget to shift your slide.
Sorry, let me try again. Sorry.
I'm sorry to disrupt you there.
Is this the right one? the way ICT was first employed.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. So when ICT first started, we didn't have as many computers or as many institutions with these kind of computer facilities. But with the widespread, or with the invent of the internet and its widespread use around the world, we started to see a gradual change. And we have seen how education is being handled. Alongside its popularity, new pedagogies for both online and blended learning have emerged. As one of the teachers in the beginning from Thailand said, now you talk about, for example, a mixed teaching methodology because of these new conditions, which may or may not finish in the near future. So what did you say? I just missed, not blended. You said something. Mixed, actually, both digital and face-to-face teaching. So we are starting a third decade now of the 21st century, and there's a technological gap between rich and the poor, or the old and the young. However, despite this digital divide, as we said, both developing and developed countries are deeply experiencing the effects of ICT on schools' teaching and learning. I remember a picture from a village school in the eastern part of Turkey, who in fact, a hybrid, okay, thank you, Sonam. Hybrid learning, your colleague said. So we are also talking about hybrid learning, but I will come to that. It's a little bit difficult to understand, to situate it in our context, for example, because what we understand from that changes from what people are trying to ask us to do. So in that picture from the village, we see 10 village kids gathered around a big stove heater with one mobile phone per student, sharing among 2 or 3 students, trying to learn from that today's lesson, for example. So this, and on the other hand, in the city, in a middle class, even in a middle class family now can afford some kind of an internet access and some kind of a mobile device, tablet for their kid. Oh, that kid has one tablet and sitting and working. So this, in fact, is something that needs to be further thought about and developed in order not to have this gap between the kids. That's why hybrid learning, or that's why maybe blended teaching is becoming more widespread. And this is again creating another problem, in my opinion, for especially students who cannot afford to have these facilities. So this is going to, I think, if this continues like that, if we cannot find a solution, this will continue. And if teachers, obviously this will put a lot of pressure on teachers, because they will need to find a way to reach all those kids, because as teachers, it is our ethical responsibility to teach, okay, and to see its product. So this is going to put a lot of pressure unless we find a solution. What has happened in and out of schools during COVID-19 pandemic, again, with reference to local and global context. In the Turkish context, we did have, in fact, switched from face-to-face classrooms to online classes. And we have started to use multimedia, interactivity, enhanced access to education, flexibility in time and space, individualized instruction and self-directed learning opportunities, changing learner and teacher roles. So we have in fact switched all of these. And all of a sudden, families started to get involved with their kids because while we were teaching, we couldn't have access to what the students were doing. We couldn't give immediate feedback to our students because it wasn't that difficult, that easy to follow all the students in the online medium of classroom. And in this sense, we started to change, we have witnessed all of these topics, flexibility in time and space, because you could go back and listen to those videos which were broadcast on the state television which was spared for, I mean, there was a special television channel which was dedicated to these online courses. And it was broadcast not only from the state channels, but also from some digital, actually, programs like, how can I say it? Like we have things like satellite TV, digital TV, and so on, different channels. I'm sure you also have those. And over there, they also had a channel for this as well. So we needed to change our pedagogical approaches or pedagogical perspectives in the light of this. I want to thank once again my colleague Senem Yıldız, who in fact was a great actually support in this project, and without her we couldn't have developed this methodological approach. And this is a shared presentation as well, so I really want to thank her once again. So over here, we are talking about new pedagogical approaches. And but in order to reach these new pedagogical approaches, we need to also visit already existing familiar ones, okay? So, and we need to also appreciate the idea of willingness to have continuous professional development. And in this case, what is the role of professional development in relation to developing a new methodology for digital learning and teaching? I'm sure you are familiar with scientific framework for digital competence in education, which is the most recent approach, Digicomp Edu, which is being used as the basis of many digital projects. And obviously the good old Bloom's taxonomy, which we have actually learned when I was a student in 1980s at the university, and Samr Model. Okay, I'm going to go over all of these models in detail. So this is the basis of our teacher education, actually digital teacher education methodology course book, guidebook. And in this one, this is Digicomp Edu. And in this one, you start from professional engagement, which involves digital, from educators, professional competencies, pedagogical competencies, and learner competencies. And from professional engagement to facilitating learners' digital competence. Okay, so we need to first know and understand and develop these skills in order to help our learners to use these information and become digitally competent. So the whole idea is actually to bring in digital resources, to develop teaching and learning methodologies and strategies, assessment strategies, empowering learners through these information that we are in fact transferring as teachers through appropriate pedagogical information, pedagogical basis, competences, and then facilitating learners' digital competence. So to, in fact, transversal competence, subject-specific competence. So this is the important framework for developing. And in Bloom's taxonomy, as we remember, and which was in fact explained by, we are talking about the competencies on a cognitive domain, and we are talking about higher order and lower order thinking skills, and it starts from remembering, recalling specific facts at the bottom line, then understanding, grasping meaning of instructional materials, and then applying, using information in a new but similar situation. These are the basics. Analyzing as much as it goes more and more advanced towards higher order skills. It is becoming more and more difficult, but we are in fact scaffolding the information through this, in fact, cognitive domain, evaluating, analyzing, taking apart and know and identify relationships, and then evaluating, examine information and make judgments, and creating, use information to create something new. So this is the famous Bloom's taxonomy and its interpretation in 2001. So this is in fact what happens when we are learning. We start from memorizing and goes up to creating, and we go through different steps. And when we look at Bloom's digital taxonomy, okay, so it is again starting from remembering as lower order skills, bookmarking, copying, highlighting, searching. So we have all the tools, and then understanding, journaling, tweeting, tagging, subscribing, and then applying, calculating, charting, editing, uploading, and analyzing, mind mapping, surveying, linking, validating, evaluating, grading, testing, posting, moderating, and creating, like blogging, filming, podcasting, directing, presenting. So these are all, in fact, happening according to the digital taxonomy, from, again, lower to higher order skills. And when we look at the SAMR model, while integrating technology into teaching, it is significant to understand how technology helps teachers and learners to do things that could have never been done without technological tools. SAMR model is meant to provide assistance to teachers in their journey, redefining teaching and learning with technology. And using this model as a guide for teachers can reflect on their technology use in the classrooms and question whether they use technology effectively to enhance student learning. Therefore, it is crucial for teachers to know what they are doing with technology, why they are using technological tools, and how technological tools improve learning. So, in other words, our aim is, again, to develop, in fact, this triangle, to reach to the top of the triangle through this use of these digital tools for teachers. And our target is to improve learners' understanding of topics that we are and content that we are producing. So Samr Model is substitution. Technology acts as a direct substitute with no functional change. Enhancement, augmentation. Technology acts as a direct substitute with functional improvement. Modification, technology allows for significant task redesign. And redefinition, technology allows for creation of new tasks previously inconceivable. Actually, if we were together with Senem now, you would have, we would have been given you more explanations for these topics. But Samr Model is, in fact, as I said, substitution, augmentation, modification, and redefinition. So in a way, while we are adapting an online digitalization model into our teaching, we need to go through different stages. So what we are teaching is the same old content material we have from our face-to-face classrooms, but when you need to present it in an online medium of teaching, then you need to substitute, okay? And then you need to find ways of making it more understandable, more adaptable to an online environment. You cannot use the same, boring exercises that you give, for example, drills you give to your learners in an online environment. You need to find a way of using it in a more adaptable way, digitalized and adaptable way. And as I said, the digital natives are more visual, and we need to present materials definitely in a more attractive way to them in order to engage their attention, their how can I say, their attention towards what we are teaching, towards the topics we are teaching. Okay. So some of the learning theories behind digital pedagogy are behaviorism, cognitive constructivism, social constructivism. And I'm sure you are familiar with these theories, and I'm not going to go into detail with these here. Behavior, but very simply, behaviorism, in line with the pedagogical underpinnings of this theory, there are a variety of technological tools that allow the learner to engage with activities based on drills and repetition with immediate feedback. So in a way, we need to give immediate feedback, as you remember from behaviorist theories. Technological tool examples for this can be Quizlet, Duolingo, ClassDojo, and Classcraft. And I'm sure you are familiar with these. So in a way, in behaviorism, it's important to give immediate feedback to the learners. And these are some of the technological tools. For example, from Duolingo, So when you write, for example, system, I did use Duolingo actually from time to time to learn languages, and I came across these kind of issues. So you need to write, for example, when what you hear, and then immediately you receive. If it is not, it is correct, they tell you are successful, this is correct, and if not, it gives you the solution, and you can directly see the solution, okay, like this. So this is the mistake you make. Okay. Cognitive constructivism. So one thing that you need to think about is, in this case, is in behavioristic approach to digitalization, you are in fact focusing on immediate feedback characteristic of notification. According to cognitive constructivism, knowledge is actively constructed by learners based on their existing cognitive and intellectual framework. So based on all their already existing knowledge, concepts and constructs, you are in fact building on it. Because learning is seen as an active discovery, learners are expected to monitor their own learning. Teachers are, as facilitators, build on students' already existing knowledge and lead them to make appropriate modifications to their knowledge. Actually, this is one, I want to give an example from a content and language integrated learning approach that we are using to train teachers who are teaching to different age groups. While we are doing that, we want them to pay attention to the way they present the content to their learners. So we do not want them, for example, for certain age groups, between the ages 7 to 10, for example, we do not want them to present a completely new construct before they know about it in their first language. I'm talking about English language teaching. Because if they do that, the learners will have to struggle both with the language problems and with the conceptual problems if they are not already familiar. So the learners or the students' familiarity with the topics, their existing cognitive and intellectual knowledge is important in building knowledge construction. Okay, so they can modify and learn and bring in different topics into the classroom. Taking the practical implications of this theory into account, teachers should be aware of individual differences and understand different ways of building, organizing, and evaluating knowledge. So this necessitates teachers to be aware of these aspects of learning in the classroom, like individual differences, building and organizing, evaluating already existing knowledge. There are many technological tools that serve this purpose, such as MindMaster, Poplet, and Mindomo. So these, in fact, will help cognitive construction. So this is one of the examples. Mind mapping, marketing campaign plan, write paper launch. And in this one, you give goals, timeline, marketing persons, resources, activities, and you want them to, in fact, list the important things, and the program helps you to do that. So this, I think, is an important aspect of how they can construct their already existing knowledge in use of such a tool. Social constructivism underlines the importance of co-construction of knowledge and collaboration among learners. Technology has expanded learning beyond classroom walls and allowed learners to communicate with other learners using various technological tools to complete a task, exchange ideas, or solve a problem. Google Documents or Padlet can be listed under this theory. Actually, I learned about Padlet when we started this project. I didn't know about it, and it's quite a useful tool. Atempo was the person who was responsible for developing the digital content based on the methodology we prepared, and they used Padlet, for example, for so many activities during their training session. So they started, actually, we have posted our ideas, opinions, pictures, posters, and so on. And during coffee breaks, there was a music, there was kind of slideshow using Padlet only. and it was an interesting, good experience for me at that time. So blended learning, some of the instructional approaches can be listed as, that's why I couldn't think about hybrid, because I don't have it in my lexicon. It's coming in, but not completely yet. So blended learning, project-based learning, experiential learning, and flipped learning are some of the instructional approaches that you can adopt in your teaching. Before the pandemic, I was actually using blended learning and doing research on how it might help students in engineering classes to have better achievement in their courses. So in this case, obviously blended learning has changed its meaning, as our instructional technology experts in the university say, and project-based learning is becoming very popular. Experiential learning and flipped learning are also adapted. So what is blended learning? Teacher-led learning in class or virtually, digital learning, self-guided or assigned. So this was blended. This was what we exactly understood from what blended learning was in our projects, okay? But obviously, during the pandemic, we also developed another definition. This time, again, using some extra materials, extra online materials, especially at university level, to teach students, again, from a distance, but using these mixed tools, lecture and digital tools. Flipped learning, before the students prepare to participate in the classroom, you assign them a topic, and during the classroom, so they learn the key concepts. They get feedback from their teachers during the classroom, and after the classroom, students check understanding, extend their learning. So out of class and in class. So most of the time learning occurs outside the classroom, but during the classroom, they get feedback and help from their instructors. Experiential learning. So you have actually active experimentation. What do I do next? Why? So you're asking idea development. Why did this happen? What did I experience? Reflective observation. What happened? Concrete experience. Active experimentation. What do I do next? So experiential learning occurs in a cyclical manner, and you start from reflective observation, idea development, active experimentation, and concrete experience. This is more maybe suitable for more hands-on experience related subjects like medicine, for example, or related areas. Project-based learning, you set some learning goals, you have some knowledge, understanding, and success skills, and you actually start from, again, reflection, critique, revision, public product, challenging, sustaining, authenticity, student voice, and so on. It's kind of, again, in a cyclical manner, but you have some already set goals. In order to reach them, you go through some, actually you develop ideas together, and you try to reach a certain target, a kind of public product, which is in fact challenging, and you solve the problem, and it goes in again in a cyclical manner. To be successful, the activities you design should be well structured, should include well-defined roles and responsibilities for learners, should encourage learners to exchange and embrace new ideas. So in this actually topic, in this project, this is what we wanted to achieve through the methodologies that the teachers use, tools that the teachers use in order to help their learners to understand the topic that they are teaching, okay? And in this case, in order to do that, you should have a well-structured, let's say, design, and then you have to have well-defined roles and responsibilities for your learners, because you are at a distance and you don't have immediate control. So this is very important. And you should encourage your learners to engage, to exchange and embrace new ideas, okay? So you need to really see how your actually you start from knowing nothing to knowing something through these strategies, through these digital competencies you will bring into your classroom. Okay, this is my first presentation, so I want to stop here.
Okay.
Yes. I thought maybe I can have a break in between. We can have questions and.
Yeah, this is your short break, right? So
yes, I can continue, no problem for hours.
Yeah, if our audience have some question in between before we go further, so we can have question raised here, because our professor can take a rest for a while, and then we can have like a interaction between the speakers and listeners. So yeah, please, if our audience have some other something to share with our keynote speaker, yeah, go ahead with that right now.
Okay. So how am I going to continue then? I will, after, if they have questions in relation to this, I can answer, and then I will go on with my next one. How much time should I leave for questions and topics?
Okay, how many more slides that you are about to go?
Let me just tell you. About 33, but most of them are pictures.
Okay. So what about this, Dr. Yasemin? So
yes.
Let's say about half an hour, and then we can have, interaction, Q&A, another half an hour. Yeah.
Okay, half an hour is enough. So I can talk about the gist of the Enrich project as well, because in that one, it is more straightforward, not much. This one is a bit more colorful. Okay, so let me go on then. Okay. Yes. Okay. Now, this is the Enrich project that I mentioned, which was about developing a continuous professional development portal for teachers to become self-aware. And we used actually digital tools to do that. Okay, so this is the Turkish Enrich team. I am the leader. And I started my presentation like this. If we can share our learning and our challenges and questions in a community of critical friends, it's likely the field will continue to grow. So I really appreciate your questions and comments after my presentation. So what is continuous professional development? It's a process of professional change, okay, personal professional change. So it is definitely voluntary and optional, but it is at some point necessary in our profession to do something different, to understand, to keep up with time. The set of activities to promote personal professional change, a lifelong project, and our overarching framework for a development. So actually I did, in the beginning of my presentation, I did talk about this is a lifelong learning project. If you are decided to change, to learn about what's happening in the field. So how can we, in fact, achieve a continuous professional development course in a digital environment through webinars, online workshops like this one, online conferences, MOOCs, social networking sites, and so on. And the most widespread one is social networking sites, as you know. And we have actually been presented through webinars and online workshops in the new era, after the COVID era, a lot actually. And online workshops can be really useful and helpful for teachers, especially in the projects that we have been doing. I didn't know that it could happen, but it happens. Okay, what are CPD in digital environments? We develop online learning communities in CPD environments, digital environments, offering a convenient way to provide professional development experiences as they are comprised of a group of teachers as autonomous, independent individuals who are drawn together by shared values, goals, and interests, and who are committed to knowledge construction through intensive dialogue, interaction, and collaboration. This is exactly what happened in the Enrich project. We had teachers from all over the place, from Turkey, Greece, Italy, Norway, Pakistan, United States, and other parts of Europe and other parts of the world, other Asian countries. So it was a enriching, really, as its name says, enriching project. Okay, the professional development activities or strategies for teachers' professional development can be grouped into different, through Richards and Ferrell's and Diaz and Maggioli's categorization. So in those cases, we have self-monitoring activities, we mirror coaching. I am online, right? You can hear me? Okay, fine. Let me go on. Okay. So mirror coaching, awareness coaching, team coaching, co-teaching, all of them, peer observation, expert teaching, critical friends team, teacher support groups, workshops, collaboration, collaborative action research, exploratory action research, lesson study learning, mentoring, professional portfolio, keeping teaching journals, analyzing critical incidents, and so on. We can have a plethora of activities if we want to carry out professional development or teacher professional development programs. So what's happening with continuous professional development field? So first of all, it works better, and it has some features which wasn't there in the previous teacher professional development approaches. So why? Because this is paying more attention to relevance and to the needs of teachers and their students. For example, in our project, Enrich project, we started off by developing needs analysis questionnaires for both teachers and students. And we have developed our methodology based on the results of this teacher needs analysis for teachers and students. Internal and external support for teachers through mentoring. So we did, in fact, I was one of the mentors, online mentors. And originally, the project was developed before COVID, okay? And we were planning face-to-face activities with teachers. But because of the COVID pandemic, we needed to switch to the online, the digital platforms. And we used Zoom extensively, and we met more with teachers. That's why I said I have mixed feelings for the COVID era, because it did facilitate our meeting with teachers. And luckily, we were the luckiest of the partners because we had 2 face-to-face meetings with the teachers. I will show you some pictures in a minute. Teachers' collaboration is important because teachers learn from each other, not only from teacher educators. And in this project, they definitely learned from each other. I remember teachers talking about the fact that some teachers were more experienced on the topics and they were doing more activities. And my Turkish teachers felt a little bit, how can I say, intimidated, or not intimidated. They became scared and they said, maybe we should withdraw from the course. I said, no, don't worry. You will learn from each other. And I'm sure you know something that other teachers do not know. So mentoring is important in those projects because you need to give continuous support to teachers. Exploration and reflection with attention to both practices and beliefs, job embeddedness, that is CPD situated in schools and classroom, context alignment with reference to institutional, educational, social, and cultural milieu, critical engagement with received knowledge, a valuing of teachers' experience and knowledge. Over here, the important thing is this should be on a voluntary basis. I have been doing professional development courses since the beginning of my profession as a teacher educator. One of my, important areas of research is teacher education. What I've seen is teachers who attend the obligatory teacher seminars before the year begins, for a school year begins, do it just because their school wants them to do it. But in some projects, when you say on a voluntary basis, and in the previous one, the obligatory ones, they do not attend them with their souls, I would say. I'm sorry, I hope you don't misunderstand me, but they are just there, okay? Because some higher authority wants them to do. But if they do it on their own, with their own initiatives, or if you present it in such a way that you make it attractive to their attention. And again, as I said, it's not only learners who need an attractive content, it's also us professionals who need an attractive content to attend professional development courses. So they actually do better. So voluntary, it has to be definitely voluntary, these kind of programs. Mentoring is, again, a one-to-one relationship between a mentor, more experienced or senior person, and a mentee, a new person, an experienced person. Such relation proves to be really beneficial for the mentee's career development, as he is or she is constantly guided by his or her mentor. So that, as I said, it's very important how we present the content to our participants, even in a professional development course, and how we continuously listen to their problems, listen to their questions, comments, and so on. Otherwise, we do distance ourselves from the topic and from what's happening in the classroom. So some benefits of mentoring: gaining feedback, gaining experience, feedback, personal growth, networking, and sharing. Okay, the enriched CPD course. I'm doing good in time, I think. The aim was to promote teacher competencies that are crucial for responding to and building upon the diversity found in multilingual classrooms across Europe. And we developed a high-quality continuous professional development infrastructure which empowered English language teachers to integrate the current role of English as a lingua franca in multilingual classrooms. The enriched CPD course was the core of the enriched project. So over here, as I said, from the beginning, we planned a distance learning platform, definitely. But we also planned face-to-face. As I said, it was a blended methodology, and we also planned to meet with the teachers to talk about how they were doing with the topic and so on. Not to in fact direct them towards a kind of thinking, because we wanted them to explore these ideas and to develop their own stance against these ideas and these topics. So enriched CPD course, which was in fact developed on the basis of the needs analysis, extensive needs analysis, which constituted the first part of the project, led us towards developing these topics, okay? And as you see, this was not a linear course. It was a kind of cyclical. I mean, you could choose whichever topic you want to start from. Let me put it this way. So it involved some major topics like using English, and some subtopics like linguistic diversity, and subtopics like translanguaging multilingualism towards teaching English. And we had some major topics, some small topics, as you say, learning English, and final assignment and course evaluation. And in teaching English, we had things like language assessment, lesson planning, methods and approaches, employing task-based learning, content and language learning, and so on. And we had integrated into all of these modules some useful videos and materials that the teachers could benefit from while preparing the activities we asked them to prepare. So key elements of the continuous professional development course in the Enrich project was, first of all, it had an online blended learning approach. Okay, it was innovative. It, in fact, triggered critical thinking, interaction and reflection, constructive dialogue between teachers, and mentoring and constructive feedback throughout the process. So it was in a cyclical, but in a very consistent manner. It was done in a very consistent manner. In that sense, this CPD course was different from the previous ones, like the one I developed with Sifakis in between 2013 and 2017, ELT project. Again, we used an online platform, a similar methodology. But in this case, we did not give the teachers, for example, some materials to read, but we prepared PowerPoint presentations, and we recorded voiceovers for them to understand the key topics. And then we asked them to do some activities, and then we wanted them to join in forum discussions with teachers from different parts of the world and who were part of the project. Okay, so what was the role of mentors? To ensure that participants follow the study schedule. So we had a weekly topics, okay? And we were responsible for a particular topic, but still the teachers were free to choose from where to start. But we had our own schedule, of course, and each of us were ready to give feedback to teachers, not only to the Turkish teachers, but also to the whole teachers, which in fact were doing the topics that we have prepared. Like as Boğaziçi team, we prepared multilingualism, translanguaging, linguistic diversity, ELT discourse, and key issues in using in ELT actually. So these other parts were developed by other partners. So in each one we had also activities, and in those that week that corresponded to that activity, we were there to help the people, and for each activity there was a different forum entry. So that we were never mixing them, and we were constantly checking. Actually, even if it wasn't our week, there could be teachers who were following the topics from behind, or who were doing them in a mixed order. So we needed to ensure that participants follow the study schedule, facilitate their study and active engagement with materials and activities, trigger constructive dialogue, and prompt a team spirit among the participants, support the participants, and promote autonomy. And I really would like to thank Sezen Bektaş, my co-mentor, co-mentoring partner, who in fact was there all the time for the teachers, and who supported the project as much as I did. In the Enrich course, there were two types of mentors, course or Moodle mentors, as I said. So we needed to be there for all the teachers who were part of it when our time for the topic came, okay? And main focus was the participants working in that section, in our particular section. In each, and local mentors, in each country, a scholar who is a member of Enrich Consortium acted as a local mentor, and we were co-mentors with Sezen in this respect. I just want to give you examples from the Turkish participants before I finish. So we have attracted great attention in the Turkish context. We had actually 161 teachers who showed interest. Again, this was before the pandemic. And then we have selected 61 teachers, and we have selected those who were mostly working in Istanbul because, as I said, we were planning to meet them face to face. So 61 enrolled the course, and 30 were engaged with the course. They did some activities, not all of them. Only 15 completed the course. So this was one of the dangers for such courses. You may not have the same number of people completing the course, the same number who started the course. But we were very pleased with the performance for these teachers, and the rest of them, although they did not complete the course, they followed all the activities of the course, and they participated and took part in activities during the course activities. So those 15 people, they were between the ages of 36 to 45. And 25 of them, and 10 of them were 26 to 35. So we had a young, relatively younger and dynamic group. And we had 4 males and 11 females, and 33% of them had master's degree, and 67 had bachelor's degree. And their years of experience ranged from 1 year to 8 years. So this was also a good actually, pardon, 6 to 21 years, I'm sorry. 8 teachers had 6 to 10 years experience, 6 teachers had 11 to 20 years experience, and only 1 teacher had 21 years and more. Okay, more than 21 years. So we had a relatively novice and experienced teachers range. And these were the sessions that we met the teachers. This is very important when you are doing a training course like this. And on the February 8th, before the shutdown, we had a face-to-face meeting with the teachers, and we still used Skype. We weren't familiar with Zoom then. For some teachers who couldn't come, it was a very snowy day, and we really appreciated 18 participants coming and joining. And then on February 22nd, again before the shutdown, we had a multiplier event in which Martin Dewey was a plenary speaker, and we had Lucilla Lopriori and We had Natasha Santila from Greece and Giulio Priori from Italy as the plenary, other plenary and speakers and workshop organizers. So we had face-to-face, it's incredible, 226 online registered participants, but only 135 active participants. But this was a great event. And at that time, we didn't worry about masks. We didn't worry about any problems. So it was a different world. But we did equally successful Zoom sessions as well after that. And we had all, and then following this, the first one, February 8th, was our first contact session, and all the rest were on the online medium. Sorry. So these are the mentoring activities we carried out, like individual motivation emails, individual emails. I mean, we also did continuously interact with the teachers through emails. And we have opened an email account devoted to Enrich project, and it was a very good and fruitful interaction we had. So this is from our face-to-face event, multiplier event, and the rest of the multiplier events were unfortunately from a distance. So you see, Martin, I'm sure he did talk already. He was there as well. And these are some of the photos from our online meetings and contact sessions. And then obviously after the first contact session, we had online Zoom meetings. And this is towards the end of the project. And we had an ELT day conference, just one day conference devoted to the Enrich project. And towards the end of the project, we needed to have individual meetings with our teachers. This is Sezen, actually, who was there all the time for me. And we also had Kurt Kohn, by the way, and Nikos, and in the Enrich conference, project conference, Stefania and all the rest. So, sorry, ELT day conference as well. ELT day conference, sorry, I mixed with the face-to-face and ELT day. Yeah, ELT day conference, where we had actually Martin, Nikos, Kurt, Lucilla as the plenary speakers, and also Shul from our project, and Stefania as project presentation. They've done project presentations, and a special issue of Boğaziçi University Journal of Education will be devoted to this. It's going to come out very soon. Okay, so what we did were, as our question in this, what are the views of the Turkish CPD participants about the CPD course about in relation to their professional development, content knowledge, teaching skills, critical thinking, self-confidence, and sense of community? And how do Turkish CPD participants evaluate the content and implementation of the CPD? How do the Turkish CPD participants describe their interactions with the mentors in the course? So we had an evaluation questionnaire and recordings of face-to-face and online group meetings to develop an understanding of these questions. And the blue parties strongly agree, as you can see. The course, the sentence starts like, the course has contributed to my sense of community, self-confidence, critical thinking skills, teaching skills, and you see there's a high percentage of these, actually, they have agreed that the course contributed their sense of community, self-confidence, critical thinking skills, teaching skills, knowledge about ELT, multilingualism, and so on, and professional development. And then the course has met my expectations with respect to its content, and the mentors' support, again, they strongly agreed, and they agreed more or less, because we always have people who are not very happy about the system, because we had a very limited number of participants, so this cannot be generalized, but anyway, in general. So some of the teachers' insights into Enrich, we have some positive comments on mentoring support and forum interactions. For example, some more sessions with mentors and video meetings would be really useful, as I found a bit difficult to follow some modules. They helped me in these sessions a lot. Joining discussions in the forum are really beneficial for me because it helps me understand and compare the teaching and learning context in different countries. So this is, as I said in the beginning, One of the advantages of this COVID pandemic is actually connecting people. So this project really served for this purpose. As a last thing, being together with teachers from different countries and having such support of the mentors made this process more meaningful. Mentors were very helpful. Contact sessions were most useful part for me, and so on. Okay. And Turkish positive comments on having mentors support and through forum. In my opinion, the contact session very helpful to stay in the right track, because we needed to have, it was in the design of the project, we needed to have contact sessions. So it helped me to stay in the right track, have human touch, personal feedback from mentors and so on. And again, online meetings, better understanding, gave them better understanding of the course. And they learn how to integrate some of the courses, my issues like migrants and Erasmus courses. I have learned how to integrate them. These people, their languages into classroom, but it got mostly clear through conversations with the mentors, because two things that were most difficult for teachers to understand were multilingualism concept and translanguaging in the Turkish context, because Turkey is a predominantly monolingual country, which is becoming a multilingual country in a very fast pace, actually, I can say, high speed multilingual country, but we still have monolingual mindsets, which is also influencing the way they see how they should teach English. Turkish ELT insights into enrich demands on having more face-to-face and online report from mentors, a bigger Zoom meeting, maybe having all the teachers, more meetings with the mentors, although we tried our best to meet with them as much as we can, and more than what was written in the book, actually, in the proposal. We did meet with them, but it wasn't enough in some cases. And I think it would have been much more insightful if the mentors on our comments were frequently in each module. So it was that fast because people had other issues as well. So if possible, it would be good to be able to set up group meetings with other colleagues from different countries. So they actually, as I said, not only having these forum discussions, but they also wanted to have meetings with the teachers, online meetings. This was not planned. As I said, the project started before the COVID time, but maybe a future project should take this into consideration. Impact of teachers on sense of discussions on teachers' sense of community. I feel, one teacher says, I feel I'm not alone. Well, we all learn from each other. So these are important topics. Their comments, people from other. Okay, this is, I think I should read this. The course is really helpful, especially the other participants' responses. I am trying to read all of them. They are very informative. Also, I have learned new terms such as translanguaging. Their comments help me to understand these new concepts much better. And this is, I think, an important and kind of a signature of what we have done in this course. While we were presenting them new concepts, we were also presenting them new, different, similar topics as well. So the role of CPD in teacher education and development is important and highly recommended if you want to achieve a certain goal, like introducing teachers, maybe technology, or how can I say, a new topic like English as a lingua franca and its integration into classroom. The role of mentoring in CPDs is also important. So when you are preparing such a course, you need to be ready to devote a large amount of your time to this topic. So maybe you should stop doing everything else and do this. Collaborations and communities or practices of great importance. If you want to develop an idea of or sense idea of belonging to a group of teachers who are part of this ELF community, so they'll feel themselves belonging to a larger group of community of practice who use English as a lingua franca. Increasing importance of combining face-to-face and online education in a blending learning mode in the era of globalization, technology, and COVID has become a must, and we need to, in fact, think of different ways of developing them. What I've shown you are modest examples of some experimentation with these methodologies, and it's open to discussion, it's open to innovation, it's open to new advancements. We have said this in 2013, together with Sifakis, when we started our project on English as a lingua franca awareness in teacher education. And we said in the next decade, ELF teacher education will become an important issue, not only for ELF theoreticians and educational practitioners, but for ESOL practitioners as well. As we have seen, the strength of ELF research, together with the broader world English literature and global Englishes nowadays, lies in its potential to challenge deep-seated convictions about the functions of English language, the roles of its users, and the pedagogical implication that this phenomenon can have. So we predicted this, and we have already experimented with 2 projects and a side project by Cordia, who is a PhD, about to finish her PhD together with Sifakis. And maybe there are also other projects that have done by, for example, Hall and his colleagues on Chinese teachers through British Council. And we have now many different projects, EMI projects, Global Englishes projects that are going on, which will be, in fact, opening up new horizons for all of us to learn from each other and to develop further projects. Profession development can be overwhelming, so we can have short-term and long-term goals. As I said, positive attitudes towards professional learning is necessary, so we shouldn't scare our teachers, teacher trainees. We need to include them, all the activities, and we need to give them a chance to decide whether to participate or not. In the long term, online platforms in CPD projects can provide input from experts and colleagues, raise teachers' motivation, develop collegiality, and support innovations. And last but not least, again, one teacher from our very first project said, "For me, ELF-aware teacher is giving importance to communication and respect to other cultures. In my classroom practice, ELF-awareness has changed my students' attitudes towards using a foreign language. As non-native English-speaking teacher, I feel much better and relaxed using the language. Why should we not give more teachers this kind of an idea, this kind of a strong self-confidence through such projects?" So I'm opening up the floor for further actual discussion, further possibilities of projects on this topic. So I stop, I think 2 minutes. Okay, I've done good with time. So, okay. I can have a glass of water now.
Yeah, I think so. So thank you very much, Professor Yasemin, for your insightful presentation. I know that you have shared your personal experience of working under the Erasmus, sponsorship. And these 2 projects are quite, useful for all of us who are working for teachers' education. So I think that your sharing has shed some lights of knowledge for our audience to understand how classroom clouds play a crucial role in our digitalization era. So actually, technology is a genuine disruptor, because you have said that, right after COVID-19, erupted, so all teachers, they have to be prepared for, equip themselves how to teach online, and then the student themselves, they have to be prepared how to learn and how to, take their time, on the screen. So these are things, these kind of things, makes, sometimes, especially teachers who have no ideas how to make our classroom lively and how to engage the students to be in online classroom. And actually, I think that there are so many platforms and so many technological tools that you have discussed in your presentation. But sometimes for us, as let's say for like the late baby boomers, generation, like I myself, we are digital immigrant. So it means that we have to migrate. So we have to learn all digital technology. But those for the students themselves, they are, IT native. They know all technologies. But the problem is about, sometimes they widen the gap between the rich and the have and the have not sometimes, right? So that's a great idea. So in our universities also sometimes we are struggling with these kind of things, both teachers and also students. Sometimes students, they say that they have no devices in order to access the online classroom because, as you said, just only one mobile phone and together with some other, student friends, studying together. This is the thing that we can see, the situation in different parts of the world. So now I think I want to take a question from our participants. I may open a Q&A session to my dear fellow audience, that this is, if you may have some other question and we can share, try to make our session informal. I know that this session will be useful for all of us, to learn from our keynote speakers, and also you can share if you may have one to our session today. So please.
Yeah.
Okay, please, Ajahn Chamaipon, it seems like you raised your hand, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ajahn Chamaipon. Yeah, go ahead, Ajahn.
Yeah, I'm a lecturer. I have just finished conducting the research related to the student voice through the 2 years online learning, and something related to your instructional approach, because the student feel that, yes, it seemed okay, to do some kinds of assigned tasks, but it's difficult for the student to do like task-based project or the experimental style of teaching something, for example, like the student feel that if the teacher assign them to do the group works or to do the project work together, and they have just, they have like poor, like Ajahn Bodin said, they might have just one mobile for one student and quite poor mobile, something like that. So they have to work in team. They have to produce a project, to meet the teacher expectation. So it for them, they feel that they are struggling to finish on that. And for experimental study, like for science students, they feel that some experiment they need demonstration, something like that. So they feel that they have to struggle in learning. So in your opinion, what would you suggest that would be appropriate? What type of instructional approach that will be appropriate in this era, in this digital era? Thank you.
To teach experimentation for science students, for example. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, science students as well. For science students, they feel that experimental instruction is difficult. While other students from other faculty, they feel that doing group work or to produce a task, it's difficult for them to do the group work because they have just one mobile, or they have one laptop. But they have to do the group work. In group, they cannot meet face to face due to the COVID. So they struggle.
Yeah. Okay. In this instructional design that I've shown you in the beginning, the strategy for teacher era, using these digital tools, you can adapt them. Like there are tools for science and mathematics classes. But as I said in the beginning, I'm not going to go into too much detail with equal opportunities, digital divide in this talk. I cannot have a solution for this, but I can have a solution for the other, for the students who have access to internet, a good connection, all the computers and so on. And then I can group them according to the tools that, for example, the Atempo is preparing for us. They are preparing the tools exactly for this purpose. To teach. And also in our new project, we are going to develop tools to teach science and maths to students. At the moment, we are investigating the curricula of Romania, Spain, Ireland, and Bulgaria. And we are comparing our curricula right now. And the next step will be exactly what you are saying. I can answer your question maybe when I finish the DigiTools project. But at the moment, from my experience with the other one, I can say that they are adapting those tools to maths and sciences, and the students are following, just like they can have a Second Life, for example, platform, where the student actually goes into this classroom. There are also projects like that. They can take some avatars and they can be in that room, for example, and they can do it. There can be that. But as I said, is it possible for all teachers to have access to such platforms? No. Okay. So yeah, that's not possible. So, but the thing is, you can have many different ways. Like you can have Second Life platforms where 3D, okay, where the students can take an avatar and get in groups and work together in the online environment. I'm not an expert in that area, but I have been, presented lots of different research projects on this topic, and I'm amazed at that. So that's one way, okay, I can say. So you can prepare a virtual classroom, a Second Life classroom. That can be a different methodology. But in the way we prepare, it is more actually targeted towards this digital divide, so everybody can have access. We are trying to make use of those tools that I presented. Since I am an expert in English language teaching, I'm more familiar with the tools that are used for English language teaching, online tools. But through our experience, Atempo presented us many tools which we will be available very soon. And you can use them to, for example, create such environments. But in the short run, I don't have a concrete answer, okay? But there can be, as I said, all the conditions are set, it is possible. But we have to train teachers to become competent first. Because as long as we are not familiar with these, I can't use them at the moment. For example, I'm lecturing about it. I am experimenting with them, but I need some time, okay? I love a Padlet nowadays.
Yeah, because, this is because of my research result. They feel that, because I studied about the student voice, and it seemed to the teacher that the teacher may not be aware that, the teacher, some of them are supported by the university, so they have better digital devices, while the students have just a mobile phone, something like that. So they have to adjust a lot. That is one thing. Another thing is that it's about the health. They complain that they has a lot of health problems because while the teacher use like maybe PC or laptop computer, they have to work on mobile phone for the whole days. And then at night time, they have to do the assignment as well. So they feel that I feel like I'm a zombie after I finished, each day I have to work like that. So they concern a lot about the health problem. That's what I found out from my student. Like, what do you think about, how to prevent the health problem for the far future? I think they might be online teaching or hybrid teaching, like online and on-site together, but the students are concerned about their health. What is your opinion about this? Or we can share opinion about this.
I haven't researched on this topic, but what I can tell you is from my own experience, sitting in front of the computer for hours is not healthy in the first place. And but new ways of, as I said, pedagogical approaches need to be developed. Like the sessions should be for a certain amount of time. And like when I was writing my PhD thesis many centuries ago, I remember my colleague from the computing department telling me, don't sit in front of the computer for many hours because you may have a backache. So give intervals between 1 hour, like no longer than 1 hour. After 1 hour, stand up, walk, do some maybe stretching and so on, and come back and continue. So We will need to use definitely some orthopedic chairs. We need to have these intervals, and we need to develop our sessions accordingly, especially for young learners, for school students. For me, for example, I can sit in front of the computer 3 hours or 2 hours, it's no problem. But after that, I need to stand up and do some exercising or walking and so on. But for children, it is different. And they also have less attention span. So I think, I don't know about it yet. We need to develop new online teaching methodologies as well. Not only distance learning, but also we need to have some pedagogical approaches, pedagogical ideas developed towards this online teaching medium. And maybe hybrid teaching medium. I don't know. I don't have an answer to your question directly, but what I can think is we need to definitely have a new understanding of what we should do with our pedagogical approach in an online environment.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Kap Ajan Chamaipon. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for your question.
So I also would share the thing that with Ajahn Chumaipon has raised. Sometimes, actually our teachers has, bombarded project to our students. So this subject give a project-based assignment. In other course also give another project-based assignment. Or I mean that, let's say if student registered, 7 or 8 courses in a semester. So it means that student have to show all 8 projects. So it's quite overwhelming for our students. So it's just not only about your physical pain, but also about mental pain as well, about depression and as well. So it's kind of thing. So that's most of our students are coming talking to me. So I'm so depressed, because a lot of projects that every teacher assigned me to do this and that during online learning.
Yes, Ajahn.
Yeah, I agree.
So, Atamrin, do you think what is the problem there? Then the problem is with the teachers or with the students?
I think primarily I agree with Professor Yasemin that it's about teachers as well. We have to educate teachers. How can we balance our project? Not only that, okay, every teacher thinks the same way. Okay, I give my, opportunity to give you to do this, that, and that. So, but sometimes we don't even know that every student has to shoulder their works a lot,
Yeah.
I'm quite agree with Professor Yasemin, Ajahn Badin, and Ajahn Chamaipon. Based on my experience in my class, the students are diverse background. They come from different backgrounds. Some of them are very poor. Some of them are very rich. Some of them are very they are affordable. To the high facilities. Some of them no, they are not able to. So and sometimes I feel like education should not perceive as a tool to increase the inequality in education. But now I feel like education, especially in this era when we have to teach our students online or when our students have to learn online, it seems like education is used as a tool, to increase, the gap of the inequality in education, which is very important. And I think we as the educator, we have to aware about this particular phenomenon. Because if we still keep teaching on what based on our preferences, some negative impact, of course, may happen to our students or learners, I guess.
I agree definitely, and it's the actually context. It's amazing to see how different contexts have similar problems and similar issues. So I want to give one example from my university students' complaints. Like we as instructors, we always ask students to do things, this project, that project, that project. So I see them, they're overwhelmed. And when we do teach online, we may sometimes fall into the trap of, I'm not doing enough, okay? So that's the problem. That's not enough. So I need to get more from the students to see whether I have done a good job or not. So this is, I think, a big problem. We need to first gear ourselves towards like, look, that's enough. They should show whether they have learned or not on this topic, and then let's move on to the next one. So I think even I experimented with another class this semester. I taught a course on history of English to a different university as a guest lecturer, and they switched off their cameras the whole time in the first place. This was an undergraduate class, okay? And I used all my, how can I say, acting facilities to make it as interesting as possible. Then I decided, okay, after 5 weeks of lecture, I said, no, it's your time. Since it's about word English, we moved to word English. I said, you will all prepare a country which has some history with English. So it's very interesting. They have done a good job, but they still switched off their camera during the presentation. So this is something that is putting me terribly off, but the students are complaining about because it's too expensive. They are connecting from their homes. And unless, one thing I want to say, that the previous question as related to previous question as well, unless we have this internet for free, okay, we cannot have the best education results we want, we need. And it's not free. It's incredibly expensive in Turkey as well, actually. And not all the university students can come to campus because we have COVID pandemic. And we don't have complete shutdowns, but we have partial shutdowns nowadays. So from time to time, we go hybrid, as your colleagues said, like online, and then we come back and have exams on face-to-face. But one of the solutions, apart from giving students, especially in secondary and primary schools, tablets for free, but we need to provide them free internet as well. Otherwise, again, we will fail. And I don't know, this is a big idealistic idea, but any technological tool, actually in the beginning of her talk, Senem in our conference 2 weeks ago said, unless we in fact provide everybody with equal opportunities, technology is creating this big gap actually between people. People who have access and people who do not have access. And this gap will continue unless we find a solution, educational solution at a higher level, at a higher decision-making level. And I really value these kind of, for example, exchanges and these kind of projects like yours. So we learn from each other, and we may, and our officials, when they support these projects, they give value to this kind of exchange of ideas as well. And it will take time. I've been an administrator for a couple of, it's very difficult. Unless you have money, you cannot do anything. So, but finances, so it's, I think, good to do some international projects and bring into the attention of the wider decision-making process, and maybe developing those technologies for everyone to achieve for free. I don't think it's so expensive, but I don't know. The world is going through, like many other parts of the world, is some economical crisis these days. So it's not that easy to have that because of COVID. One of the disadvantages of this COVID era is economically, the countries have become, not only educationally, have become really, wounded, let's say. I don't know the exact English word. I will use my lingua franca. We say wounded. Somehow they need to actually repair. There have been lots of businesses are shut down. Even though we talk about people, not only people in the village at the moment have access, but also people living in whose fathers lost their jobs, don't have access, or mothers lost their job, don't have access because they can't afford. So as I said, maybe one day United Nations hear our voice and they change this big educational reform and bring free internet and free tablets to all the students, maybe one day. That could be a radical solution, but because we have the infrastructure, Actually, Dr. Borden, I mean, you are here, great teacher educators. You have universities, such great teachers. I've been following. We have 175 participants right now. And so we have the necessary human power. But we need to have this other support. I hope we do get it one day. So I just wanted to add.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Yasemin. So today's session is quite meaningful for us, especially for us like who are working in the education industry. I would say, whether you want to say whether it is industry or not. But anyway, since the time is running out, I will say on behalf of PSU, Dr. Yasemin, and also the PSU Open Mobility Series, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to you very much, Professor Dr. Yasemin Bayyurt, for your great presentation on classroom clouds with ELT digitalization. Now I return the floor to my colleague, Dr. Yusuf, to announce evaluation, certificate fill-up form, and to close the session.
Okay, thank you very much, Ajay. And before closing the session today, I would like to ask for your cooperation to fill out a survey so that we can review your comments and feedback and improve our future events. So everyone, please click on the link to the survey in the chat box. I think my team has already posted in the chat box already. So everyone, please try to complete the survey, and also please after you have done your survey, do not forget to grab your certificate on the way out. So after complete the survey, we will send you another link via chat box to fill out your name and email, and then your e-certificate will automatically send to your email. So everyone, please check your email right after. And as you are completing the survey and getting your certificate, I would like to take this opportunity to announce our next event under the PSU Open Mobility 2021. Which is to be held on February 12th. In this educational event, you will meet with Dr. Willy Redenya from Nanyang Technological University, Singapore, who will be sharing knowledge and experiences with you on the topic of the power of extensive reading and listening, theory, research, and applications. So if you are interested, please do not hesitate to sign up by checking the new link in the chat box. So be sure to clear up your schedule and join us again then. So today I would like to thank you again, our moderator, Professor Yasemin Bayyurt, and our moderator, and also all participants from all around the world for being an important part of our session, our activity today. And we really hope to see you again soon. Everyone, please have a nice day, and thank you very much for attending the session today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you very much, Professor Yasemin, and hope to see you maybe in person one day, sooner or later. And if possible, maybe we will try to contact you again in order to run some project together between Turkey and Thailand. I think it could be something very interesting, and it could be one of the outcome from this session.
Okay, yeah, it could be really, we are open to new projects and ready to do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your contribution and your experience that you have shared to us today.
Okay, have a nice day.
Yes, very nice. Thank you very much, and have a nice day. Have a nice day. Have a nice day. Thank you very much. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so everyone, please do not forget to complete the survey, because your feedback is very important and it's very useful for us in order to develop our next event. Ajahn Bedin, Ajahn Faiza, would you like to say anything?
Okay, Ajahn Yusuf, yeah, it was such a great session. So and then because this topic is, is related to our profession, so that's why everyone can get involved.
Absolutely, and I found out it's very interesting.
Yeah, I think one of the big issues that we have discussed today is about the inequalities, among students, Yeah, because the diverse backgrounds, some of them are not able to afford, high qualities facilities, but some of them,
Yeah, it could happen, Ajahn Yusuf, it could happen, especially in our third world countries. Not only Thailand, I think like Manila, Malinos as well, and in some other parts of the world, seems we have the gap, not only about education sector, but other sectors as well, because the economy has been impacted by COVID-19. So it means that the economic status of the household has been impacted, by this disease. And then actually the numbers of unemployability, numbers of, how to access to technologies. So this kind of, a lot of issues has to be concerned with this. So of course, education sector, unavoidably, impact with this pandemic.
So again, when we talk, when we're trying to discuss in the, in the field of education, again, among students, it seems like it's very challenging, for every educator, how to tackle with these particular issues, how to increase, the balance, of students.
But I think this is like a great, jumping board for our online learning. Because online learning, we have been discussing about online learning for, let's say, for a decades, but it could never happen. But suddenly, once COVID-19 erupted, and then everyone has to move to the online learning, immediately. Sometimes without whether you are ready or not, but you have to move to that part. So in one way, so it pushes us to that direction, faster.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, thank you very much, all participants coming to our session today. I'm so happy with the session today.
Okay, so thank you everyone, and everyone have a nice day.
Yeah.
Good evening, good afternoon, or maybe good morning, depends on where you live.
Okay, thank you very much, and see you.
And see you soon. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.